This week on Brupeg, we're cutting into the pre-launch job list. We're getting the front put back together using the new Uni-MIG welder. I'll be doing a bit of MIG welding for mild steel, some DC TIG welding for some stainless to mild steel, and a bit of AC aluminium welding, something that I've never done in my life. We need to just clean all of this edge up so that we can start welding the material back in again.
We've taken a sunken fishing trawler and converted her to a community-funded expedition and research boat crewed by volunteers from around the world.
Because life's too short not to fight for your dream.
So the deck's ground cleaned up and there's a 45 on it so we can put a full penetration weld into it. We've also gone through and cleaned this up. This is a ladder, a single rung off a ladder. So there's 3 of these that go down into this anchor room. We had to cut this one off in order to get the big plastic anchor tube into this room, so that has to go back on. That's going to be put on with TIG. The rest of this deck is going to be welded together with MIG. Welding this in is a pretty straightforward job, but you can do it fast or you can do it slow. So slow is essentially using what I call a dumb welder, basically a welder where you have to remember all the settings in your head and then go and set the welder to do it, and the welder has no brains, it doesn't really think, and it just does whatever you tell it to do. If you know what you're doing, those welders are fine, there's nothing wrong with them, and our other welder is a welder like that. It's a perfectly capable machine, but you have to have the knowledge of how to set that machine up in your head. One of the things I love about this machine is, for people that are new to welding, this thing's awesome. It's got like a smart set feature where you can essentially get in there and just dial up all of like the material thickness, the type of weld you're doing, the wire, the gas, all of those parameters. It'll then go and basically give you settings, so you don't actually have to know a huge amount about welding. So if you're thinking of like learning how to weld, these machines are flipping awesome. The other thing I love about this is because it's a multi-process, like today I'm going to be doing flux core MIG, and then I'm swapping straight over to do TIG, so stainless TIG. With the same machine you can do both. You just change the torch and change your settings and you're good to go again. So, and even on the back of it, it has 2 ports for gas, one for MIG gas and one for TIG gas. So TIG always uses argon, 99% of the time you use 100% argon, and with MIG welding and MIG wire you use like a mixture of different gases, CO2, argon, oxygen, there's a few different gases mixed in. Instead of having to swap between gas bottles all the time, it's got 2 ports, so you literally leave them plugged in the whole time. So if you set this up in your workshop, you don't have to keep mucking around with it whenever you change between materials. So I'll give you an idea of how fast this thing is to set up. So you just spin along till you get to your smart set, press the middle button, choose that we can do butt joint, fillet joint or lap joint. So we're doing a fillet. You can choose mild steel, flux core, stainless or aluminium wire. Using flux core, you can choose your gas, using an argon mix. You can choose your wire size, we've got 0.9mm. So check the settings, they all seem good. Material thickness, you can dial that up to whatever you want. I've got 5mm. We want 2T or 4T, in this case we want 2T, so it's trigger controlled. Inductance, I've got set at 0. Good to go. Building. Gosh, this weld's nice when you're doing thick metal. I should try and bash that out.
Yeah, maybe.
Did nothing?
It really could go in, like, if you look at that.
I know, I'm thinking like a jack or something, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe even grind a touch off there and we might be able to just push it.
Yeah, maybe.
move that. I'm trying to bend that.
Yeah, no.
I wonder if it's worth trying to jack it. Oh fuck it, I'll just start it. It's fine. I'll start it. That's the spirit. Right.
You have to set it up again, or?
Dunno.
Starting.
2 seconds. Nah.
Yep.
Hold the settings.
Still the same.
Cool. Probably want to master this because it'll be pretty smelly. Because we're burning off paint on the inside. Alright, here we go.
What do I believe? What makes me feel it? To write you this song. 2 hours a day, 5 months a
So after a bit of a buff, that's what the welds come up like. Right the way around there, they've come up pretty good, I'm happy with that. So, press on, we'll get the rest of this welded.
Still rolling the dice, still hoping to find a future for me. I'm still in this fight. I pray for the night to go easy on me. You keep blowing me out, I keep holding you in.
With the hatch rim now lifted up onto the foredeck, we need to go around in the area it's going to be welded, clean it up with a grinder, so get it back to bare metal so that we can weld this down nicely. And this is the hatch lid that I'm bringing up so we can mount the hinges. So the hatch is now sitting in position, so basically it sits just down like that on top of the old weld, right the way around. We just need to go through and then weld that back up. On the inside it's not the cleanest of fit, you can sort of see it just randomly sort of sits there on top of the deck. That was how it was originally, but I'd really like to clean that off because someone's going to break their head open on that one day.
I know it's tacky, but it's time to glue this down.
Tacked in?
Yeah, all tacked in. Yeah. Let's paint it and go to sea. Before I get too carried away with the welding, I'm going to get Birk to go through and come up with some templates for these hinges. We need to make some stainless hinges over the back here. This little fitting here basically locks that side down, but the hinges on this side need to be built. So we did have some original ones, they were a bit rubbish, so I'm not going to bother using them. We'll make some of our own. They're going to be stainless, and then we're going to be putting a bolt through them so that they bolt onto the alloy lid. Alloy and stainless, not ideal, but this lid is probably 20 years old, so it's lasted, I reckon it will get another 10 years. This next bit of engineering has to be pretty precise. So the two of us have dressed for the occasion. On the roof, before we clean it all down, etc. and paint it, we need to do a little bit more engineering around the solar. So we actually have to take our solar panels off. They're getting replaced. We've got a really fast way of taking the bolts off with an electric spanner. I just want to show you how we do that. So now that we've got a fairly clear roof, we need to do a bit of a rubbish run and get rid of these. So over the side they go.
Just a shot away from the corner where I used to play with my friends as a kid. I saw a man with a pulled up collar playing banjo with an invisible stick singing.
Right, the big flat rear roof is now ready for phase 2 of its life. We had a change of plans. We decided to use some heavier stainless. So rather than the 6mm that we were using, we've decided to move up to 10mm. That means instead of having a hinge on it, a 6mm hinge on either side, we can have one single 10mm on, you know, like left and right. Makes it easier to TIG all the way around it and stop rust. I have the two 6mm plates either side and then a bolt going through. I can't TIG down the middle, and therefore there's always going to be a gap where rust can start. This is the shape that I need to build. This is my cardboard template. Birk made that earlier. And this is the stainless I've cut out. So I need to basically clean up the radius. I need to give all of this a nice round off and then give everything a polish up. But you can see what I've done here is basically got the two of them stuck together with just a spot weld on either side there. It means I can grind them so that they're basically identical to each other, and then I'll just cut those welds and we're good to go. There we have it, two hinges. Just need to pop a hole in the top and we're done. It's been a while since the mag drill's been out, but we need to pop a hole in there. So I've set up a bit of a jig. Mag drill is going down through a hole in the bench, so we can just cut clean through this. And this is going to try and spin, so I've got it hitting the magnet and then also clamped so it won't go anywhere. So the other final piece of the puzzle is sparkling mineral water. Whenever you're using a mag drill on stainless, you always want to use the finest in sparkling mineral water to try and keep the bit cool.
Any kind of water will do.
The issue you're trying to deal with is heat. With stainless, you don't need to lubricate it as so much as you need to get rid of the heat as much as possible, and that's why I'm dousing this in water.
And this is why we use the mag drill, because that is just phenomenally good. Because I want to get the holes in exactly the same spot, I'm just going to use this as a jig. Put that on there like so, and then clamp it up. And I reckon we're going to be good to go. Won't matter if we go through the first one. I'm running out of depth, so time to lose that top one. If you're curious, this is what a mag drill does. So basically it's like a big hole saw. It leaves a nugget in the middle there and it just cuts down through, almost all the way through. You can see that one there, but it'll punch that through and then you'll be left with a whole bunch of these little wee hole things. I've gone as far as I can on those hinges. I need to go into town to get some threaded rod or a piece of 14mm bar so I can put between all of the pins and get everything aligned when I tack it together. Don't want to just bolt them up and then hope they're going to work, because that never does. What I do need to do is change this locking mechanism. There's a couple of design faults in there from the original hatch that I want to get rid of. This locking mechanism, basically it's just a piece of flat bar with a cutout put into it, welded straight on the top. And this threaded rod locks in there, and then you do it up tight with this little wheel, and that holds your hatch down. It's a pretty simple system, it's bulletproof, it's worked for years. However, this flat bar is not up to the task. So there's two problems with it. One, we've got a stainless washer touching aluminium with seawater on it all the time, so you can see all this crevice corrosion and all sorts of stuff going on there. That's basically because you've got stainless and alloy touching each other. So that's the first issue. The second issue is because it's just a piece of flat bar and they've hollowed it out in the middle to fit the threaded piece, whenever they crank down on it, it just bends it. So what I want to do is put a little gusset on either side. I'm going to cut this off and put a new one on, but I want to have a little gusset on either side just so that it takes that vertical strain and doesn't do this bending carry on, you know, for the rest of its life. But I do need to try and solve this metal on metal thing. I don't quite know how I'm going to solve that yet, but that's something that I need to work on. I think it might just be as simple as putting a nylon washer under it. Maybe that's enough. Right then, that's where they keep all the salt and corrosion. Alright, this is going to be my new one. So the old one, if I fit that in there, it's about maybe 10mm wider, 3/8 of an inch, something like that, on either side. And that's to allow for gussets made out of the same material. So this is 10mm thick aluminium. This is 10mm thick aluminium, but because I've got such small wall thickness down here, there's just no strength. Normally when you cut aluminium, you want to use a fine tooth wood blade. It still works using something like this, like a cut-off disc, which is what I'm using today. It's just not as nice a cut. Never mind, we'll press on. Cut's reasonable, that'll clean up nice. So this is the new one. You can see just how much more substantial it is. And I made these little gussets. I'm going to put these tucked up underneath the bottom there, just so that they give this a heap of support. So the new hinges are in. I've got a bit of threaded rod running through, and I've got some nylon washers between. This is stainless. It's not ideal to have stainless in contact with this aluminium here, but right now that's the best I can do. I would like to put a little nylon sleeve or something in there eventually, but for now this is what we're working with. Just going to cut this to length. I want to have a threaded rod in like this so that I end up with these hinges being perfectly aligned. Lay. Rub those in.
With these hinges welded on, I need to get my head around AC aluminium welding. This is going to be interesting.
So they turned out alright. I still don't really know what I'm doing with tungstens. I haven't changed the sharpening profile. I've basically blown that one apart, but you can see some that I've sharpened here previously. They end up with a fairly pointy tip. That's for just doing DC metal. My understanding is you need to round it off for aluminium. I have no idea, I don't know anything about this stuff yet, I'm learning. So For now I'm still just using the pointy tip. That might be completely wrong, but we'll give it another shot and see if we can get some decent beads going. Once I've got that sussed and I know what I'm doing, I've got to start welding this plate up, which is quite thick. That didn't work. Destroyed the tungsten. That didn't work. Destroyed the tungsten. I don't quite know what I'm doing wrong. So I haven't resolved the tungsten, it's still balled up and looks like rubbish. But I am starting to get sort of reasonable beads. I want to go through and just keep practicing a wee bit before I get into these brackets. So I'm getting a few consistent runs now. I still can't seem to keep this tip from destroying itself. Yeah, that'll do for a little bracket. What a breakfast that was. Absolutely destroyed the tungsten. What am I doing wrong? Okay, if you look really closely, you might be able to tell these early welds are a bit shit. These ones are slowly getting better, then this one's quite a bit better. Maybe a little bit cold, but I changed to the right tungsten because Enos Fingers here didn't realise there was a different tungsten for AC. He does now. Right, that is getting significantly better. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like at least a 3. I forgot to hit record, but I did that nuke of a weld. It's like the world's ugliest AC weld, but I don't think that's coming off anytime soon. Oh, little meat gloves. Ah, still warm. I think I'm way too cold. I'm not sure they make TIG welds any bigger than that. Right, something like that. Right, bit of a tidy up. Probably not going to win Instagram with any of these welds, but you know, probably not going to fall off either. Okay, so first impressions was the weld was a piece of cake. Half a dozen button presses and we're up to where we need to be. It's all set up, ready to go. The bits that held me back was me. Didn't know that the tungsten was different. I did a long time ago, but then forgot about that completely because I've only ever done DC TIG welding since then. So once I figured that out, it was actually a lot easier. It didn't explode tungstens all the time, so that was a nice surprise. The TIG welding side of aluminium is very different, in my experience, it's very different from DC TIG welding. The heat, you have to control the heat so much differently, whereas, because you've got the aluminium oxide, but you've also got the aluminium, they have two very different melting temperatures, whereas with, like, say, stainless or mild steel, something like that, it's pretty straightforward. It all melts at the same temperature. You don't have to worry so much about oxides, and therefore you can kind of just control your temperature a lot easier. I think DC TIG welding for like stainless and mild is easier overall because there's less to think about. But in saying that, I don't think AC aluminium TIG welding is so hard that you couldn't sort of teach yourself. The machine itself is awesome in that you can set it up and you're ready to go, and then the rest is teaching yourself how to weld. But yeah, I think it's going to be something that we'll be doing a lot more of. Right, I've assembled the hinge, so we can now do the last bit of welding, which is just down here for the locking mechanism. This guy here needs to latch in there like that. That spins around, welds on like so, and this here is a basically thread adjustable lock, so we can crank this right down nice and tight. So need to do that. But one of the things I want to change on this is I don't want stainless and alloy to be in contact with each other, so I'm going to put a little plastic washer in here and see if that's enough for now. These are the washers I've got. They're about maybe 2.5–3mm thick, and they're fairly big diameter, so you can sort of see it on that there. It's a reasonable size diameter. I think that's going to be enough to sort of protect it for now. I think the only thing to do after all of that AC welding is to do some DC welding so that you can tell yourself, no, it's okay, you really still can weld. Right, that's my almost can't get into it welding, so... And there you have it. Tighten that down, you can see it sort of clamp it all down, nice and tight. And it's locked down with a nylon washer, so hopefully we won't have any corrosion issues going forward. To get it off, it just sits down there nicely, just down the bottom. And that lifts up. Protects you from the weather as you're trying to get in and out. I'm pretty chuffed with that. That's going to last a while. Next job to tackle, Trev came up with an awesome design for a retractable, extendable tiller for his yacht. So we're putting that together on the foredeck of Brupeg. Plan is to try and basically weld them up so that they cut this down here so that they touch. But that's the plan. Try to get them to line up that way as well. Just joined a little bit of that. There we have it. I'm gonna give everything a tidy up. Made some little stainless pins. There's going to be a hole drilled down here. This goes down and they lock in there on either side. Bit of a chain so they can't be lost. This part bolts to the actual tiller post, and then this part here, theoretically, slides out as an extendable tiller. Look at that. Last little bit to fit are these pins. These are for the autopilot. They go down through these holes, and we're going to weld them off flush. We need to clean the stainless up before we can do that. There we have it, welded in. So the finished product's pretty cool. It's a pretty awesome design Trev came up with. This is one of the welds, the last one I did. It's in there quite well. There's the discoloration is actually when the gas doesn't quite shield it perfectly. That we're welding at about 15 knots of wind, so I'm not surprised. Once it's pickled, it'll come up looking like these, so they'll come up basically looking bang on. I actually didn't do these welds. These were done by an engineer down the road, so I've built the rest of this stuff. So these welds underneath, he pickled them, I welded them, and he did these welds when he put these tubes on with these bushes. So I don't have a lathe, so he machined up these bushes to put them in. These ones down the end here, these have come up pretty good. We were welding at about 15 knots of wind, so it was really quite difficult to shield these well enough. This one here probably didn't do a good enough job shielding the gas, but these ones here have come up all right. I'm pretty happy with those welds. He's going to go through and file these off with a flapper disc now and then polish them up. But overall, that's come up pretty awesome. A lot of people ask, this boat is Trev's boat, and the bottom of it, where are we? Down there. That's all been sanded so that he can get it painted. He's doing a Formula 1 pit stop style haul out. So he's trying to get the boat, what are we now? It's Wednesday. He's trying to get the boat back in the water by Friday. Not because he needs to race as fast as he can, but it's more the fact that the yard is so busy at the moment. If he doesn't get in by Friday, he's stuck until next Thursday. So we're all going to go over tonight and help him get the anti-foul done. Ready to go back into the water. He's already pulled the prop off, serviced the prop. It's a variable pitch prop. That's all been done. Yeah, so now that we've got that tiller done, once the anti-foul's done, pretty much ready to put the boat back in the water, I think. So as you can see, we had lots of fun with the new welder doing different types of work. So we're big fans of Unimig products because they do really good work at a decent price point. They don't bust the bank to get there. And they're available in pocket size. If you're looking for a new welder, give these guys a shot. There's a link in the description below.
Thanks for sponsoring us, Unimig. You're awesome.